What the mainstream media was afraid to tell you about the news this week. This week, while the mainstream media was obsessing about the fireworks that spelled Trump 2020 at the RNC last night, here are the things that happened that really matter. According to the Wisconsin Department of Justice, Jacob Blake had a knife stashed in the floorboard of his car at the time of his shooting. That means after police found Blake engaged in a domestic dispute at a home where he wasn't supposed to be, with an outstanding warrant for his arrest, after Blake had repeatedly resisted arrest, evaded a taser, brawled with police officers, and opened his car door and reached inside, Jacob Blake was reaching for a weapon when police shot him. But did the mainstream media tell you the context of this shooting? No. The mainstream media pretends this shooting was racist police unjustly gunning down an innocent black man, even though the facts show that narrative to be a lie. A new poll shows public approval of the Black Lives Matter protests is plummeting. According to a Marquette Law School poll, which was conducted, by the way, before the shooting of Jacob Blake and the riots in Kenosha, Wisconsin, in June, 61% of people approved of the Black Lives Matter protests, while just 36% disapproved. Fast forward just 2 months to August, and only 48% of people approve of the Black Lives Matter protests, while 48% also disapprove. But did the mainstream media report how public opinion on the riots has changed? Actually, yes. CNN's Don Lemon said the violence is helping Trump. He said, and this is a quote, "The rioting has to stop. It's showing up in the polls. It's showing up in focus groups," end quote. In other words, the mainstream media has called these violent riots peaceful protests for nearly 3 months now and only condemned the violence when it started to hurt Democrats' poll numbers. A school district in Tennessee tells parents to sign a waiver promising not to listen or be present during their children's virtual classes. Rutherford County schools asked parents to sign this waiver promising not to listen in to their kids' virtual classes. The waiver tells parents not to even be present while their children are connected to the virtual classroom. And when the school district faced pushback from parents, they only changed their policy slightly to say that parents can listen to their kids' classes with permission from each instructor. But did the mainstream media report this gross violation of parental rights at the hands of the government-run public schools? No. The mainstream media does not care. In a new video released by investigative journalist David Daleiden and the Center for Medical Progress, Planned Parenthood abortionists admit under oath that they committed illegal partial birth abortions in order to harvest the intact body parts of the aborted babies to sell. Dr. Deborah Nucatola, who at the time was Planned Parenthood's Senior Director of Medical Services, admitted to turning babies breech before aborting, which is the illegal partial birth abortion procedure. Nucatola said, and I quote, "We've been pretty successful with that. I was referring to PPLA. Yes, including me, I worked at PPLA," end quote. Remember two things. Partial birth abortions are illegal, period, and changing the abortion procedure in order to harvest intact body parts of the aborted babies is also illegal. 2 crimes. But did the mainstream media report this law-breaking activity to you? Nope. The mainstream media is silent. In Georgia, following the primary elections in the state, which were held on August 11th, there has been no spike in COVID-19 cases, despite the fact that the elections were held in person. On August 11th, 229,000 people voted in person. On Election Day, there were 3,563 new COVID-19 cases. Fast forward 2 weeks, on August 25th, there were only 2,102 new COVID-19 cases, showing that the in-person voting did not lead to a spike in virus transmission. But did the mainstream media report this to you? No. The mainstream media was silent because they're in the pocket of the left, and the left wants to frighten you about in-person voting because the left wants universal, despite the vulnerability to fraud and inaccuracy. The mainstream media doesn't care to report any of that to you, so we will.